Hi, Instagram. Okay, I think I'm live. Hi, Facebook. Hey, everyone. Just 1 second. Hey, guys. Hey, everyone. Hey, Mariana. So good to see you. Hello, everyone on Facebook. Let me post this to my personal page as well. Let me know, those of you guys that are here live, say hi to me so I can see you guys. Hey, ladies. And then we're going to get started. I'm excited to chat with you guys today. Today is really just a conversation from the heart about a big decision that we made, and I wanted to share with you guys why we made that decision and what it means. In the meantime, I'd love to hear on a scale of 1 to 10, how pumped on life are you guys today? Give me a rating. Okay, share. Hi, Olivia. Hey, but two Olivias. Do you guys know I love the name Olivia? Just a fun fact. All right, I promise I am getting to this. Catherine, you're at a 12 out of 10. Oh, love it, you guys. Hi, Olivia. Okay. Alrighty, cool, guys. Let's do this. So, hi, everyone. Hi, Catherine. Thank you guys for coming live, for those of you that are live. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the behind the scenes on a big decision that my husband, Adam, and I have made lately, which is that we are moving out of New York City. And even as I say those words, it's bizarre to hear me say it because anyone who knows me knows that I love New York pretty much more than life itself. I have loved this city since as young as I can remember. It is the childhood dream I never grew out of, and I have lived here for 10 years. Can you guys believe it? 10 years, and I still feel that fairy tale romantic feeling about it. And I never thought I'd leave. Never thought I would leave. I just thought someone would pretty much have to remove me, or I'd have to be forced out before I left. And truthfully, it almost does feel like we were forced out. So that's a little bit over dramatic, but I'm just going to go ahead and kind of rewind and share kind of chronologically what life has been like for us behind the scenes during COVID in New York City, what led up to the decision to leave New York, and some of the things I've learned along the way, and what this means for my business, because I know many of you are entrepreneurs as well. And I'd love for you guys to really be interactive as I share this. So please say hi. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If you guys have any stories around how COVID has affected you or your life, I'd really love to have a conversation about it. And I just want to start by saying that in no way, as I share any of this, am I trying to look for sympathy or overly feel sad about what COVID how it's manifested in our life. I am more than aware of how fortunate I am to still have my business, to still have an income, both my husband and I, and to not be sick. And those are both things that I think about every day. So in no way am I trying to negate, those two very real blessings. But at the same time, I guess not but, and at the same time, this is my truth. This is what it's been like. And I hope in sharing kind of some of the more minor but still real ways that COVID and what's changed right now has affected my life, that it helps others give themselves permission to not be okay right now. And hopefully, many of you, if you're not in a place like New York or some of the other really infected areas, maybe some of your life is going back to normal now, which is great. And I obviously want that for everyone. But nonetheless, I think that if you're feeling less than perfect right now, or if you've been dealing with anxiety, or if you have felt fear or worry, or if you just felt an overall loss of inspiration or motivation, that's okay. And it doesn't negate your gratitude for being okay just because you don't feel 100% right now. This has obviously been really life altering. So I want to share my story because I want to open up the conversation for anyone who also feels like maybe COVID really affected their life. Like if your wedding got postponed, or, maybe something changed within your family or your friend group, or something you were really looking forward to isn't happening. It's okay to be sad about those things. It doesn't mean that you're not grateful for the fact that you're probably healthy. And I hope you guys, by the way, like the top bun. This is like, we are so close to getting a haircut, you guys. I'm getting one Friday and I'm so happy. So this is what we're dealing with now. Alrighty, so with all that said, let's go ahead and dive in. So without getting too detailed, our COVID journey really started at the end of our honeymoon. And I've already done a podcast episode that talks about that a little bit, where I did this with my sister, Abby, in March, at the end of March. So you can always go back and listen to that if you want. But COVID kind of swept the United States and really came to New York while Adam and I were on our honeymoon in Asia. And it was kind of bad. We had 3 stops on our honeymoon. We went to Sri Lanka, Maldives, and Thailand. And we got crazy lucky with all of this because it sort of like followed us as we went. And we were like 2 days ahead of kind of the explosive news of it everywhere. So everything was pretty much fine in Sri Lanka. We didn't really, people weren't really shaking hands, but it wasn't really a concern. And then in the Maldives, we started reading more about how serious it was. The Maldives themselves obviously weren't that, once we were on a resort, like it was pretty deserted. But we read that Sri Lanka closed its borders without an announcement like 3 days after we left Sri Lanka while we were in the Maldives. Then we went from the Maldives to Thailand. And in Thailand, we read the same thing about the Maldives, that they kind of shut down their borders. So we were feeling like we were really counting our lucky stars here, that we were not stuck in any country. And Thailand has Bangkok, obviously a huge, huge airport, but I think one of the biggest airports in Asia. So we felt the safest there in terms of being able to get back to New York. And then I would say in the matter of just a few days, it feels like from the outside and probably from those in New York, everything just kind of crumbled really quickly. The beginning of the end from Adam and I's point of view was when Trump announced that he was banning flights to come to the US from Europe, and we had a layover in Europe. So that's when we were sort of like, oh gosh, what do we do? And we were starting to talk to landlords in Bangkok, thinking about staying in Bangkok for a few more weeks. Bangkok was a lot more proactive about the virus than New York was, than the whole United States was. And I'm not going to get too opinionated on this, but the facts are facts. From the moment we landed in Bangkok, our temperatures were taken everywhere. They watched us wash our hands every place that we went into, every hotel, every restaurant, everything else like that. And at the time, I think Bangkok had under 100 positive cases of COVID. Granted, obviously there were more than that, in the city of Bangkok that just weren't tested. But my point is, Bangkok, I think, has 9 million people living in it. And so percentage-wise, their proactiveness paid off. They were not, it just wasn't growing as quickly. And it was because of things like this. They had already banned all flights from China, like right when this was announced. And just everywhere we went, they were very, very careful. So we had sort of thought that maybe we should stay in Thailand for a few weeks and kind of wait out back in our ignorant days, what we thought was going to happen in New York, which at the time we thought was going to be like 2 or 3 weeks of just a complete shutdown. And then we didn't really know what would happen. I was actually a lot more like blissfully, willfully ignorant than Adam. He was sort of like, this could be longer. And I was like, I don't think so. New York's resilient. Who knows? Anyway, we were pretty close to doing that. But we were able to get back to New York via Russia, which, even though it was obviously part of Europe, was not part of the ban from Europe. So we were able to get back. It was a terrible experience, but we just decided we should get back to New York because we don't know how long and if this ban will continue on. And because we're able to get back right now through Russia, we should take advantage of that because we don't know how long we'd be stuck in Thailand, which in hindsight, I'm actually so grateful that we did because I don't think Bangkok got as bad as New York did in terms of being infected, but it just would have been so long to be like away from home and all of that. So anyway, we end up back in New York. And this is in March, and New York is just completely shut down. You've never seen anything like it. And I know like that the whole country shut down, but it was very much in our face here from day one. So I live near Mount Sinai, which is a big hospital in New York on the Upper East Side. And it has been one of the biggest hospitals during this whole thing. So pretty much right away, we started noticing how much more often we were hearing sirens. And, New York is already loud all the time, and you do hear sirens frequently here. But the combination of how many more sirens were going off, I mean, I think there was like 2 an hour, with how much other noise there wasn't, like the startling absence of any other commotion, normal people, traffic, like the city really was a ghost town except for these sirens. It felt pretty haunting pretty quickly. But we stayed in pretty good spirits in March because we were just happy that we were back. And we were just trying to stay healthy and take care of ourselves. I know for a lot of people in those early days, it almost felt like, I don't know, some sort of just like weird summer break, like in a twisted way. I'm not trying to be like ignorant here, but it was just like, okay, well, this just is what it is. We're home. We had lots of wine back then. I'm not going to lie. And then my sister had the coronavirus. So that was kind of like the first intense thing that happened to us. And again, I talk about that in a separate podcast episode, so you can always go back and listen. I interviewed Abby on it, and she can tell you, but she became COVID positive, and she got it from people she had formerly worked with. All of this was kind of like happening at the same time because the plan for months had been that she was going to quit her job while I was on my honeymoon and start working for Urban 20-something full time, and she did that. So like right as she was leaving her job, she was kind of celebrating that she was leaving. She got sick like right away after she left from her job. She had originally had a 2-week gap between when she was going to start for me full time and when she had left her job, and she was going to, I think she was going to go skiing in Colorado, which obviously got canceled, and she ended up getting COVID. So all of this was kind of happening, and that was like the first stressful thing. Now, thank God, Abby's my sister's name. Abby did not have any respiratory symptoms. She wasn't coughing very hard. She didn't have anything like that, like any breathing threats to her, which was the biggest concern. And I still think is the biggest concern, especially in New York, when at the time there were no more ventilators. There was like literally no room in the hospitals. And it was just so bleak, like being here and, just getting on Twitter, reading the news, turning on the TV, walking down the street, and just like realizing and learning that New Yorkers, were just dying in waiting rooms like of hospitals because they couldn't wait to be seen. I mean, it was just beyond gut wrenching, right? Like I know the whole country went through this. And so my biggest concern, my family and I's biggest concern for her was just that she wouldn't basically end up having to go to the hospital. We're very fortunate that she's young and she didn't have any pre-existing conditions, thank God. And for whatever lucky reason, the strain of COVID. I mean, I'm not a doctor here, so forgive any of my miscommunications, but it did not require her to be hospitalized. So that was rough because I couldn't see her. I couldn't really be with her. So I was like delivering her, food and liquids and stuff to her apartment, leaving them in front of her apartment on the street in New York because she lives here too. She'd come out and get it, and we'd have to stay a few feet, 6 feet apart. But we got through that, and she was okay. And so that was obviously the biggest scare. And then we went into April. And in April, Adam and I were just still like really trying to keep our spirits as high as possible. It's like what you have to do, right? You have to stay positive. Abby is better at this point. She is totally healed from the coronavirus. She starts working for me. That's going really great. So things kind of like are taking, we're just doing the best we can. And when I look back at April, I remember that like my biggest concern was my business and specifically supporting my clients as much as possible through this. And I have to say, I've never been more impressed or like impressed by my own clients and grateful for the work that I do than I was in April. I mean, I saw my clients that worked in travel niches, and had gone from March feeling like they were going to totally dry up their income. There was no way anyone would want to buy something from them and we couldn't travel right now, etc. Working with them to, rethink what they could offer, rethink how they could support their clients, rethink how they could do this more creatively, and have their best months in business, like during April, in the middle of a pandemic, multiple 5-figure months, 5-figure launches, just really incredible things on a normal day, plus having it during all of this. So my focus was just to keep my business going strong. I really felt almost a duty to just really show up during April because I knew that I had such a gift to still have a job and have a business that was totally online and just honestly didn't change that much. And meanwhile, so many people were, self-employed or not self-employed and lost their jobs, or are self-employed but weren't able to do the things that they used to do. And I really focused on what a blessing it was that I could, which I'm not saying to brag. This actually kind of came back to bite me in the ass, so just bear with me. In April, I just really tried to focus on the blessing that I had to be able to work, and the fact that my clients were still able to work and really support them. So that was pretty much the theme of April, was onboarding Abby, having a good first month with her, working with me full time. So bizarre. Like we had a co-working space ready to go here in New York. And during this whole time, we've worked together for months now. And I've never worked with her in person. We had one outdoor meeting last week, but that was the first time. So that was kind of the vibe of April, was just really trying to stay positive, focus on how lucky I was to not have the coronavirus, keep myself healthy. We didn't really go outside at all. We did go do our own grocery shopping just because we tried to get it delivered. It was very, very difficult. And I had the mindset then that I didn't want to take any of the limited slots away from people that did have pre-existing conditions or that were older. And we live literally across the street from a grocery store, so we were, not having to travel very far. My point is, we would leave our apartment about once a week. Adam sometimes more. He's a runner, so sometimes he'd go, on a run or whatever. Then May came, and this is where this is where things start to take a little bit of a turn. And I'm a little bit nervous to kind of share this also vulnerably, but I just hope that this connects with anyone who maybe was feeling this way. And I see that there's people watching, but you guys aren't telling me who's here and telling me hi. And I really love to hear from you guys, because it just feels like I'm talking to a screen, and I really would love for this to be more of a conversation. So if any of this is resonating with you, if you have anything weird that's happened to you because or during this, I'd really love to hear from you guys. So let me know. So May came, and I am on top of the world at the beginning of May. I just had this really good feeling about it. I had just finished a 12-day reboot with one of my masterminders and clients, Jackie Smith. So I was feeling really healthy, had lots of energy, and for some reason, I just had a good feeling about May. I really felt like it was almost going to be the last of the worst, if you will. And that by June, things would, I didn't think they'd be back to normal, but have some sort of, I just had more answers. I was so sick of everything being so vague, So I was looking forward to May. And hi guys. Oh, thank you guys so much. Olivia, other Olivia, Zaina, Leslie. Hi ladies. Thank you guys. I appreciate you all, sending you all love. So I felt really good about May, really excited. And I started mapping out some plans for our business. And I actually did a whole May recap episode, so if you ever want to go listen to that, you can. I think it was just a week or two ago. But I had a bigger financial goal for May, a bigger goal than one of the bigger goals we've had to date. And we did end up having an $80,000 month, which was fabulous, and I'm really proud of that. So I felt so great about May. And for the first 2 weeks of May, I really kept that up and just really felt positive and excited and optimistic about what was coming. And then it was sort of this perfect storm emotionally that hit me. So I don't really consider myself someone that has dealt with a ton of anxiety in the past. Obviously, I think, most people have experienced anxiety, and I think I've had one panic attack, but I don't consider myself someone that suffers from anxiety, as I know that that's a very serious thing. But something triggered in me in the middle of May, and I think what it was, well, let me actually kind of reverse engineer it and share how it manifested. So what started happening is after May, the first half was going really well. And I want to share this because I really think this is important for entrepreneurs. So if any of you are out there and you have a goal that you're working toward, or an income goal that you're working toward, or a business goal that you're working toward, watch out for what happened to me, because it happened to me in an extreme way, and it can very easily happen to you, and it's happened to me in smaller ways. So I was on track, right? May was I had been positive for 2 months. I had focused on my health. I had focused on my business. I was going to have this big month in the middle of a pandemic. I was going to make the most of the fact that online business was still alive and well, which it is. And I was doing it. And then halfway through, I just started feeling really anxious, and I started feeling all these reasons why I didn't deserve to be as happy as I was, or have the business success that I was having, or reach the goals that I wanted. And the subconscious mind is super powerful, you guys. I mean, I felt like I didn't stand a chance against some of these really just mean thoughts about myself. And I've done a ton of personal development work, and my business is on personal development. And I don't think that that's ever done. So it's not like I felt like I, was out of my league or anything, or I guess I did feel like I was out of my league. But my point is, I don't think that there's anything wrong or shameful if you if you still have things that come up for you. I think that that's very normal. But it just felt very extreme, and it was almost debilitating. It almost stopped me from continuing to move forward in my business. And here's what I think happened. So I think two things happened. I think that during March and April, I did a lot of what is called, and what I have now recognized to be, spiritual bypassing. So I have heard of spiritual bypassing before, and I think I've done it in a few other ways in the past, because I do try to be so positive. But basically what spiritual bypassing is, from the way I understand it, it means you try to bypass negative emotions. And it's very common in the kind of mainstream personal development spirituality world that's all about positive thinking and controlling your thoughts, and always look for the good and everything's a gift. And though I'm not saying that those things aren't true, but they can't come at the cost of you processing the very real emotions that humans have. And the way I look at this, and the way that I try to remember why those emotions are important, is through what's called the Universal Law of Polarity. Just bear with me, you guys. I promise I'm going to reel it back to the timeline. And you guys are probably like, we just want to know when you're moving, but bear with me, because I think this is an important lesson and I want to share it. So what spiritual bypassing does is ignores the law of polarity. And the law of polarity states that for everything that exists, there exists an opposite. And this might sound a little woo-woo, but it's really not. We know this in common day. You wouldn't experience something that was hot if you didn't know what cold felt like. You wouldn't experience happiness if you didn't know what sadness felt like. That's exactly it. Bingo, right? And so if you're spiritually bypassing and you never want to be sad, or you never want to be angry, or you never want to feel grief, and you only focus on the positive, it might feel good in the moment, but you're bypassing the emotions that even allow you to feel those feelings of positivity and optimism in the first place. So you really will start to dull those sensations if you're actually numbing the reverse of them. Does that make sense? So I believe that's what happened to me. I believe that for March and April, I was so focused and felt like I had to be focused on how lucky I was to still be working and still have my business, even though so many people were being laid off and so many jobs were being threatened or furloughed, that I think I refused to let myself feel that my business still was going to be affected because of this. And likewise, I think I was so focused on how blessed I was to not have COVID while so many people were sick or had people that they knew that were sick. And, I was so blessed that my sister wasn't in the hospital while so many people did have people in the hospital, that I didn't let myself process the fact that just because I wasn't sick or didn't have, like my job my job wasn't lost, doesn't mean that my life really didn't change. And just because my sister didn't go to the hospital doesn't mean it wasn't really scary to not be able to be with her and not know if she was going to be okay. And just because these extreme things didn't happen to me doesn't mean I wasn't scared for my mom, who's alone. My dad passed away 2 years ago, so my mom had been quarantined by herself. And, if she were to get sick, I don't know what I would do. And all of those things were going through my head. I just was sort of shoving them down because I didn't feel like it was productive for me to focus on them, or honestly, even like I had the right to, because so many people had so many heavier things going on. So I think that this really all started catching up with me in mid-May. I'm getting emotional, you guys, so forgive me if I choke up. I really didn't think I'd cry or anything, but this is just kind of all coming to me. I think that I started really realizing that I had avoided all of the honest, emotions about what had happened, and really started realizing that though I hadn't lost my job and though I hadn't lost my health, I had and have lost the life in New York that I've built for the past 10 years. And I know that that might sound overdramatic, but it's just the truth. And this might sound a little overdramatic, but I'm just going to say it anyway. I really think that for a lot. I really think that what has happened in New York over the past few months has been somewhat unique. And I know I'm not trying to undermine the challenges that other people have gone through. I think probably other people have gone through their own unique, just as hard, if not harder, challenges. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I felt somewhat alone in what New York specifically had gone through. And the realization that while the rest of the country was starting to open up, which was what started happening in mid-May, New York wasn't anywhere close to that. And even when we would, which we are starting to a little bit now, it would be nothing like the New York that I had kind of built for myself over the past 10 years. And I moved here when I was just 18 years old. It has always been my biggest dream come true. It is my favorite thing about myself is that I'm a New Yorker. And I'm really proud of the life that I built here and grateful. And so just feeling it honestly slip through my fingers and just looking out the window, hearing the sirens, looking at everyone in masks, realizing that my friends aren't going to live here anymore. A lot of people aren't coming back, period. Jobs aren't necessarily going to have their businesses or have their employees come back into work. And so people are wondering, why should we pay for rent in New York City and pay for taxes in New York City when we have none of the benefits of living in New York City? And they're not wrong. And then all of these riots started happening, which I support the protests. Like, I want to be clear on my political views there. I 100% am behind the Black Lives Matter movement. But it didn't, it just felt very real to kind of watch the city fall apart, honestly. And it triggered my grief because it reminded me, it's obviously nothing like losing a parent, and I'm not trying to compare it to that or death in any way. I'm not trying to sound insensitive, but it really just felt like a loss. It felt like a huge loss. So that is what thank you so much, Livia. Thanks for understanding where I'm coming from. Yeah, but people are leaving, and I get it. So that is what started happening in mid-May. I went from like positivity, avoiding the news, not focusing on the negative, and I don't regret any of that. I mean, I think I learned a good lesson in spiritually bypassing and trying to process things more. But I think I did what I had to do. And so what really started coming to me all at once was the realization that life as we knew it in New York was not going to come back anytime soon. I didn't know when I was going to see my friends again. I didn't know when our lives would be able to go back to normal again. I didn't know when the events that I do for my business in New York would be able to happen again. All of that just really hit me, that the life that I felt like I had, really built over 10 years, it just felt like it got pulled out from under me. And I just was so heartbroken for this city that I'm like in a relationship with, as you guys can tell. And it was just very, very devastating to watch. And it made me feel anxious about the goals that I had for myself, because it started making me feel like everything was crumbling, like everything that I wanted for myself and that I wanted for my business and that I wanted for my clients. It was very dramatic. So what I did next was hired a coach. So I, always in some capacity, I'm learning from mentors and always trying to improve my business. But I have done enough personal development work to know that as you grow in your business, especially to those of you that are newer, as you grow and as you get to new and higher levels, especially if you move quickly, like my life doesn't look anything like it did just a few years ago. Just like this law of polarity, for the higher you go, the bigger the kind of mountains to climb and the obstacles. So I knew I couldn't do this alone. So I reached out to someone. I hired someone to help me through the end of May, and I'm really glad I did that. And I definitely want to share that message for anyone out there who's feeling like they might be relating to any of this, but that they might be dealing with it alone. That really helped kind of keep me on track for the rest of the month, and it also kind of helped me process what I was going through. So that was the first thing, was I hired someone to help me so that I didn't have to feel alone in this. And then the second thing I did was started thinking about other options. And that is where the conversation to move had come in. So I don't know if any of you guys listening or even care if you like where we're going or if you guys know or anything like this. But basically, I started talking to my husband, and both of us just really started reflecting on this sense of loss that we were feeling about New York. And feeling like the life as we knew it just wasn't going to come back anytime soon. And another reason that I feel like it might be somewhat unique what New Yorkers went through was because we live in like the smallest apartments ever. Like, I feel like I have a pretty big apartment for New York standards, but it is like not livable conditions. You guys, you know what I mean? Like, we don't have yards, we don't have backyards, we don't have driveways, we don't have cars. Like, we live on top of each other. We live in very small quarters. And so we were just going a little nuts. And Adam, he's like more of a, he likes to be outside. I'm a homebody, and so I was kind of like hitting this wall. So he was like totally on board. We were really on the same page, which I'm so grateful for, because this obviously would have been a much harder conversation if one of us felt differently. But we started thinking, okay, well, what would it look like if we left New York for the summer? That was kind of the way that our conversation started, or a month. That was something we were seeing a lot of people here doing. They just were like trying to get out, go stay with their parents, whatever the case may be. So we started thinking, okay, well, what would it look like if we wanted to leave for a month? Where could we go? Where could be fun? Where could be easy to get to, considering, flights are getting canceled left and right? And then we started asking some other questions. And for many of you guys know, we got married last fall. So we've been married for about 9 or 10 months now. And one of the things we had really talked about since we got married, and they were in our vows and everything, was how much we valued a life of adventure above all else. And that's kind of been like our solid core theme of our relationship through it all. And we mean adventure in every sense of the way. Obviously, our careers, we both started our own businesses, we both work for ourselves, but also, just doing things out of the box, taking risks, living big. This was something my dad was so about. So we started kind of approaching it from that perspective too. How can we still make our first year of marriage an adventure instead of looking back on it and being like, we literally were inside for a year or like it was just like so depressing. And really thinking, we've always said we want this life of adventure, and a big part of what we've done to create that was start our own businesses so that we can travel when we want and where we want and how we want and everything like that. And how can we still reach this adventure? How can we still make that happen? What could be something to explore? So, oh my God, I'm just seeing all of your comments now. Samantha, that's why I'm here. So we decided that it would be a fun adventure and something different if we left New York for just a bit. We plan on coming back in a few years, maybe even less, but we want to leave for a little while, and we are moving to Miami on Monday. So that's where we're moving to. We're very excited and really feel so grateful that it came from a place of these aligned questions of how can we still have an apartment? I just read Zaina's comment. How can we still have an adventure? How can we still make this fun? How can we do this in a way that still feels really good for us, and that doesn't just feel like, where do we go just to get the hell out of New York? Or where do we go just because we have nowhere else to go? And we're so blessed to be able to ask and answer those questions because of our businesses, frankly. And I know that not everyone is in a situation where they are able to, decide to leave for a year plus right now, because we don't know when things are going to go back to normal or when people are going to go back to work. So we feel unbelievably grateful for the opportunity or just the chance to be able to move where we want to and when we want to. And, some other practical things about this. As you guys know, I have lived here since I was 18 years old. I don't have a license. Literally don't know how to drive. So haven't driven since I had like a little Saab convertible in high school. Some of you, if you guys have known me from there, may remember. Never got my driver's license renewed after 20 years old. And so we have to stay in a city. So that was part of it. And we actually have just had really fun memories in Miami. We have spent some time, oh my God, Haley's laughing at me, literally don't know how to drive. Can run a business, can't drive a car. Hang on, I'm going to take a sip of water. And you know what? I like it. It's one of the things I love about New York. We can walk everywhere. We don't have to be tied to a car. It feels kind of minimalist. It feels free. It's so great. So practically speaking, it all just kind of lined up from there. Once we kind of tossed out like where would be fun, and we thought, Miami would be fun. We just started thinking, okay, well, what would it look like? How could we do this? And business-wise, I wanted to still be on East Coast time because just of the way that my calls work, and also I'm an early bird, and I would feel way behind if I was on Pacific time. And I mean, I would have to get up at like 2 in the morning just to be, just to be like on my game. So, oh, I just saw so many people leave this because they found out we were moving. It's all right, guys. I get it. It was why you were here. So, we wanted to be on East Coast time. We didn't really want to stay in another, East Coast city like Boston or Philly, because then that's really no point in moving from New York. So the stars all just lined up for us. It just sounded like a lot of fun. And, when we have our moments now, the more we talk about it, the more we just think how blessed we are and how much it was meant to be, because I don't think I ever would have left New York if this didn't happen. I don't think we ever would have done something like this. And really, when I look at, what our values are as husband and wife and what my values are as a business owner, it has always been being able to take risks, have freedom, do things the way you want to. And if I would have just kind of lived in New York for the rest of my life, I would have missed out on that. I would have not been able to try something new, live somewhere new, hopefully learn some Spanish, experience life by the beach. I've lived in the mountains and then New York City my entire life. And we fully plan on moving back here. Mark my words, any of you watching, I give you permission to drive down to Miami. If in a few years I still haven't, bring me back to New York, because I fully feel like I belong here. But this just feels like the perfect step for us to do before we have kids, in our first years of marriage. And, I know that COVID is down there. We definitely know we have to take some serious precautions down there as it's a hotbed, but it's still like that in New York. And we're willing, to do that and to try that. So that's where we're moving. That's how we decided. I'm very, very excited, very grateful. And it does feel a little bittersweet, and I'll continue to share with you guys the move and the process and all of that. But really the bittersweetness, or the bitterness, I guess I should say, it was there whether we decided to move or not. The sadness was watching the city fall apart and watching the life as we knew it end. And that was the case. That would have been the case if we signed another year for our lease and stayed. We would have had that sense of loss, that sense of sadness, that sense of heaviness. And it would happen that we're leaving. So leaving didn't really change anything. We're just really excited. We're excited to try something new, and to bring you guys along with the journey. And, part of me is like, what is Urban 20-something without New York City? And who am I without New York City? But I'm excited and honored to answer those questions. Life is about going the places you never thought you'd go. And I realize that, I talk to my clients every day, and people that are interested in starting a business, or they want to work with me and they want to change their life, but they're scared and they're nervous about the change, and they don't know what's on the other side, and they don't know if it's going to work out. And I can talk someone through that till the cows come home, because I care so much about it. I had to talk myself through it day in and day out to really change my life. And I wasn't really taking my own advice. And so I'm excited to, and I'm scared and I'm nervous, but I'm really excited. And it just feels very, New York City isn't my brand. My brand is about living your life to the fullest, living the dream that you only thought you could be the dream you only thought could be a dream in your life. And that's what we're deciding to do right now. So at the end of the day, you can take the girl out of New York, but you can't take the New Yorker out of the girl. I think you guys will still see the New Yorker in me. And as I said, we'll be back. But I'm honored at the opportunity and the challenge to walk my walk, and to realize that this is part of what I preach, is live life big, do things that make you uncomfortable, do things that scare you, and take every opportunity to make your life as good as you'll let it get. And there was one more thing I wanted to say about this, but I feel like I just forgot it. I don't remember right now. But anyway, that's where we're moving. And just bear with me, because I know it's going to come back to me, and I will think of it. Oh, and the final thing I just kind of wanted to share about this is a little bit of a more serious note, but this is just a huge lesson and a reminder on why I am the #1 fan of entrepreneurship and starting your own business. I talk a lot about the laptop lifestyle and being able to work from wherever and travel while you work. And I love all of that stuff. And there's nothing I love more than, writing some emails with a view over a hotel, and kind of living the entrepreneurial lifestyle like that, and living out freedom in a really glamorous way. But time and time again, you guys, my business and the freedom it has provided me has shown me that, yes, it's there for the fun, but it is more there for when the going gets tough. 2 years ago, actually just last year, God, it seems like forever ago, one of my best friends, her father passed away, and the memorial for him was in Israel. And she's one of my best friends. She came to my dad's service, so it was really important for me to be there for her. And I remember having this same realization then, because I had only been out of my 9-to-5 job for about 4 months then. So it was relatively new. And I really just remember feeling like I wouldn't be able to do this, to go to a different country, both in terms of being able to take the time off and being able to afford it, if I was still working at a 9-to-5 at a nonprofit. And realizing that this business I built, yes, it's there for the glamour and the fun and the champagne or whatever, but it's really there to allow you to be who you most want to be and who you're meant to be. And, last year that meant I wanted to be there for my friend. I did not want to have money or PTO or a 9-to-5 job stand in the way of me going to my friend's dad's funeral. I want to be the kind of friend that is, there at the drop of a hat and is there when someone needs them, and you're not questioning you're not looking for other people's permission to decide if you can be who you want to be. And I really feel that right now too. I obviously never could have planned a pandemic. I'm not saying that it was a good thing that I had an online business because now it was pandemic proof. I just got lucky, right? I didn't know this was going to happen. I did get very lucky. But it's a reminder that, being able to do this it's because I have my own business, and it's because I'm able to not have to wait and see when my office is going to open, like so many people in New York do, or wonder how I would end up being able to find a new job there. And I'm sure this lesson will be taught to me again. And honestly, the reason that this syncs with me is because I remember when my dad passed away, and I so badly just wanted to have some time for myself and have the days that I couldn't get out of bed. And I did have some of them, but not a lot, because I still had to kind of go to my job. And I'm not blaming my job, right? Most people have jobs, and my job just needed me to do what my job description was to get paid. It's totally understandable. But it really pushed me to question, does it have to be like this? Just because most people have 9-to-5 jobs and most people have bosses, does that mean we have to? And I recognize that I came from, there is some privilege that came into what happened to me. Not everyone has the opportunity that they can just say yes and drop everything. If you have families, if you have backgrounds, I'm not trying to be insensitive to all of that. But a lot of us have a lot more power than we give ourselves credit for. And we could see that if we just ask these questions. What if I didn't have to listen to a boss right now? What if I didn't have to take someone else's need for me into consideration to live the life that I want to live, to actually do what I need for my mental health, for me to grow as a person, for me to be the best friend, wife, parent. No, I'm not pregnant. Parent just came out of my mouth. But family member that I can be, I need complete control and freedom. And with that, you guys, with a lot of control and freedom comes a lot of decisions, and you can experience decision-making fatigue. With every exciting thing comes the challenges, and I do experience decision-making fatigue. I really notice that now. When every decision that is happening with your finances, with your job, with your life, with your own self-care, when all of that is on you, when you don't have anyone else to kind of guide you, it takes a lot. It does take a lot out of you. It comes with a lot of responsibility and a lot of just decisions to be made, but they are a privilege for you to be able to make them. And I am just feeling very, very grateful right now to have learned the lessons I learned over the past few months. I'm feeling grateful to have some of those demons come up in May, even though it was very challenging and I dealt with a lot of self-worth issues. I think that they just reminded me of how that type of thing will continue to come up as I continue to grow, and that's okay, and I can't do it alone, and I shouldn't. And I'm really grateful to have the opportunity and be able to make a big change in my life. So we are moving to Miami on Monday, and follow me on Instagram, you guys, because I will bring you guys with us behind the scenes the whole time. And I really appreciate all of you that came live for this. Thanks so much. Let me just see if you guys have any questions. Oh, Sam, so good to see you here. Move here. Oh, Chris. Oh my God, Chris Brennan. Plus those moments when you can bypass, and when those moments when you bypass can negate your ability to grow from the discomfort. 100%. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. Oh, thank you so much for the love and support. I hope that this, I don't hope it resonated with you, because I hope you guys didn't go through, I'm not wishing anyone to have gone through some of these challenges, but I know that we all have during this. So I would love to hear from you guys. If any of this felt good to you, if any of it resonated with you, feel free to DM me, feel free to message me. Like I said from the beginning, want this to be a conversation. Thank you guys so much for your support and your well wishes and your positive vibes during this time. I'll send you guys some pictures from Miami. I'm gonna have a new office, so I'm excited about that. And I'm wishing you guys all a lot of, oh, thanks, Mariana. I'm wishing you guys all a lot of health, and happiness and safety and space to process, right? Like, if that's one thing we've learned, processing your emotions so that you can feel the good when it comes. It's okay to feel the sadness. It's okay to feel the loss. I'm sure even in the least extreme senses right now, everyone has experienced a sense of loss right now, and really giving yourself space to mourn that and know that you're not alone. No matter what. And also remember that your dreams can come true and things can still happen even in the midst of sadness, and that's okay. And it actually makes you so freaking strong to be able to do that. All right, you guys, sending you all lots of love. Thank you guys again. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you guys soon.